When I had that sighting, that just cemented it right there. I know they're real, I seen him.
Bigfoot, a legendary creature stalking the wilderness of North America.
I think there's more people that know about it than we think.
To most people, Bigfoot is just a myth. But for those who have encountered this mysterious being, it is much more.
I didn't ask for any of this to happen. It just happened.
It is the incentive that drives them into the woods searching for answers.
There's people who think Bigfoot is a hairy UFO pilot. There's people that think it's just another monkey.
Some have wild claims of encounters with the beast.
Well, like I said, when I shot that one when I was 17 years old.
One thing they all have in common is their desire for answers to the unknown.
There's some kind of phenomena going on, like people are claiming to see stuff.
It is what led them to become Bigfoot hunters. Interest in Bigfoot has exploded in recent years. Television shows, YouTube channels, and Bigfoot festivals have brought this subculture closer to the mainstream.
You know, there's a lot of people that don't believe, but I think there's more people that believe than we know. A lot of people don't talk. They don't want ridiculed.
People all across the United States get together with others and head out into the woods, trying to catch a glimpse of this legendary creature. I was fortunate to attend one of these outings. A 4-day campout in a wildlife corridor in Central Florida. More than 24 people came to this event.
I mean, there's people from Ohio and New York and Bumfuck.
There were also people from New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and various parts of Florida. Most people associate Bigfoot with the Pacific Northwest, but there are sightings all across North America, with Florida having the 3rd most sightings of any state, making it an ideal location for a gathering of this kind.
So there's a good group of people here is what I want to say. There's lots of different belief systems in here, and that's by design. We got filmmakers here, we got drone makers here. We even have alien groups in here, okay, that have seen lights and orbs.
The outing was put together by Matt Larson, whom I met the previous year while filming a documentary about the skunk ape, Florida's Bigfoot. Matt has been searching this wildlife corridor in Central Florida for several years. Dozens of Bigfoot sightings have been reported within 20 miles of this location since the 1970s and 80s. But much of the area has since been developed.
Like 35 years ago when we grew up around in this area and hung out and stuff, there was nothing but woods out here. Yeah. There wasn't no houses, Publix wasn't there. This was all woods.
Matt's theory is that as the area has been developed over the years, all the wildlife has been confined to this narrow strip of wilderness.
It is a choke point, and if there are Bigfoot swamp apes in Florida, I think I figured it out that they have to move through here.
Matt brought in others to help with the search and get outside opinions on his chosen area.
I want to bring this group together just to see what the hell would happen. Is one group going to react different than another group? Is anyone going to have a reaction at all?
As the Bigfooters set up camp, they got acquainted and shared stories. I learned that many of them were pulled into the search for this alleged creature due to an experience they had themselves. Like Brian, who had a strange encounter in 2003 while camping with his 5-year-old son in northern New Hampshire.
The campsite we had was right at the bend of kind of like a river, like a small brook, a fast-flowing brook, so I could hear at night. It was such a nice location because it was us on the corner. Over that river, just woods. There was nothing else. So at night, it was nice and quiet. I can't fall asleep in a tent. It's just, I toss, turn, I can't get comfortable. So that second night, I'm almost getting mad because I can't fall asleep in the tent. I'm listening to the water. I'm listening to the crickets. I'm trying to focus on something that'll help me go to sleep. I even started counting, you know, when you're a kid, counting sheep. I'm doing anything I can because I know the next day I got this 4.5-hour ride home and I'm gonna be on no sleep. So I'm laying there, eyes wide open on my back, and all of a sudden, I hear this impression start grazing across the tent. You know how you can hear nylon, you brush against a tent, it's loud. I see the impression at above the door. I catch the indentions of digits, of fingertips, just grazing across. And I'm like, who is this jerk messing with me and my family in the middle of the night? I thought it was like a drunk camper. So I'm about to get up to unzip and open up the tent and be like, what the hell are you doing? As soon as it was done, going across the tent with his hands, all the way across, side to side, I hear this breath. It was an exhale, a deep exhale. And it went from a growl to a grunt. And when it growled to the grunt, it vibrated me. It vibrated my body. And I just dropped. Like a baby, I just dropped like a sack of potatoes. I put the pillow over my head. I was so confused. After that grunt, it went dead silent. It was dead silent to where I was like, holy shit, what animal could do that? The first thing I thought was bear. You think of an animal that is in that area, moose, bear, deer, and I'm like, then I'm starting to think, I'm like, well, what the? If a bear got up on its hind legs and would do that across, it would have ripped a hole in my tent with its claws. So I'm like, no, it couldn't have been a bear. And I'm thinking, I'm like, the only time I have heard or felt that vibration was going to the circus and seeing the lions when they roar. That's the only thing I could compare what I heard. But it was the vibration that confused me. I kept that to myself. I looked up, they were still asleep. Nothing, it wasn't a loud, it was the depth. It was the depth and the vibration. I'm like, a vibration from a vocal is what baffled me. That bothered me. I didn't sleep for days. I'm just thinking it over. I'm like, what the hell could do that? And then I hear all the other stories of people that supposedly felt the vibration from a vocal. And that set me down this rabbit hole of trying to find out what happened to me that night. And that's why I'm here and why I like coming out and hoping to get some answers.
The vibration that Brian felt is often attributed to infrasound, sounds below the low end of human hearing. These sound frequencies can cause feelings of fear, anxiety, and nausea. Lions, tigers, and many other animals can communicate using infrasound frequencies. Many people who have had Bigfoot encounters described similar experiences.
I got hit with the infrasound one evening while I was out there hunting, and I was trying to figure out what's causing this. I was feeling anxiety, I was feeling dread, I was feeling like I needed to leave the area. And I'm like, dang, I'm not scared of nothing out here. I'm out here hunting at night, during the day. What's causing this? And I stayed out there and kept hunting. And finally the feeling went away. And since then I've been hit with it again since doing this. And I knew what it was. And I stood there and I was feeling like something was rushing me. I was feeling the anxiety, the dread. I felt like a bear was rushing me. And I started to grab my gun and pull it out because I can still carry it. And I just kept thinking, no, I know what's causing it. Just stay calm, I know what's causing it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any other unusual circumstances that surround the infrasound experiences, or is it just all of a sudden you're just hit with this overwhelming feeling of dread?
Yeah, it was just all of a sudden you're hit with it.
Bigfoot stories range from strange experiences like Brian's and Tim's to the downright outrageous, like the encounter James said he had when he was 17. James was camping with some friends in Florida's Ocala National Forest when something truly unexpected happened.
We were out there camping, having a good time. Fire, talking. And all of a sudden, I looked out and I seen somebody or something. I couldn't make out really what it was, just outside of firelight. And then it started circling our camp. I kept seeing it in different places as it went around us. And it went around probably 2 times. And then it stopped by this one tree. And when it stopped by that tree, it was just standing there looking at us. And it was big. I say he was at least 7 foot tall. And he was probably that wide. I mean, he was big. When I seen him, that's the one thing that bothered me the most. You know, like I say, if you're not the alpha male out there, you're dinner. And I was afraid that I'd be dinner if that guy come in here after me, because he was big enough that he could whoop me. I know he was.
The scene James described paints an ominous picture. I imagine a group of teenagers presented with such a scenario would be flooded with fear.
So this thing started coming toward me. I had my shotgun up and I pointed and I said, "Stop right now or I'm shooting." I mean, I was starting to really get excited, you know. I hate to say, I was getting a little frightened. And this thing just took another step. And when he did, bam, I pulled the trigger. And it's a Magnum slug. It hit him in the gut. He doubled over, sat down, and rolled over behind a tree, a big tree that was there.
After the creature rolled behind the tree, they lost sight of it.
I told my buddies, I said, we're gonna have to sit down here with our backs to each other with our guns pointed out. In case he decides to come in, at least one of us can probably take another shot. Well, my one guy there, he pissed all over himself. I mean, he really let loose. And I calmed him down and I calmed the other guy down. And we sat there and waiting for safe light.
James said he and his friends spent the rest of the night watching the wood line, afraid the creature would return.
It kind of got my worries up. And my buddies, they were all panicking.
As soon as it was light enough to see, they fled the woods.
We got up and ran to my car, just as fast as we could run.
After reaching the car, James and his friends found a game warden. Together, they all returned to the campsite looking for signs of the creature that James says he shot the night before.
We got out there and I walked him around because I knew where this thing had been walking around us. There wasn't a single footprint anywhere. There was no blood behind the tree, nothing. And we went all around that tree. There was no blood. There was no butt marks, foot marks, anything.
Unable to find any signs of the creature, the game warden dismissed James's account and told him not to talk about the incident with anyone else.
So he loaded us up and took us back to the fire tower and told us, he said, "I'm gonna let you go, but don't talk to nobody about this. You don't know anything." I said, "Well, you know, I'm just worried about what I shot." And he said, "Don't worry about it. It didn't happen." I said, "Okay," because there was no evidence.
Without evidence, all James has is his story and his thoughts about what he says happened that night.
And it bothers me now that I shot a Bigfoot, because I started talking to people afterward, and then that's when I found out about the Bigfoots.
And so what makes you so sure that what you shot was a Bigfoot?
By the way people describe them, being 7, 8 foot tall, big frames, and curious of you.
Not all the people searching for Bigfoot are hoping to see the creature for a second time. Some go out hoping to have their first encounter.
So I grew up in Chestnut Ridge in Derry, Pennsylvania. And my whole family my aunt's seen them, uncle's seen them. I've never seen one. But Chestnut Ridge is such an active area. Everyone knew they were there, UFOs, all that stuff.
Chestnut Ridge is well known for a variety of strange encounters. Everything from UFOs, Bigfoot, and even Thunderbirds have been reported in the area for decades.
That's what we grew up, hearing. But I want proof, so I'm gonna keep going, until I see something.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't seen it.
It's the search for proof that seems to drive most Bigfoot hunters. Though they may disagree about what exactly it is they're trying to prove. What brings you out here to this gathering this weekend?
What does bring me out here to this gathering? It's a chance to get out on the woods with other Bigfooters, and this one especially because it doesn't matter who you are or what you think. We're all here to do kind of the same job. So we got people who, think Bigfoot is a magical, being. There's people who think Bigfoot is, a hairy UFO pilot. There's people that think it's just another monkey. There's people that think it's a relic hominid. And when you put all those people together, you get a lot of arguments, you get a lot of stories told. But in this kind of an environment where we're all camping together, it's not in a confrontational way. And I think that it actually does more for like the Bigfoot. Any progress that we're ever gonna get in the Bigfoot world, we've all gotta figure it out and work together. And no one knows which one of these things is the real path to go down. Everyone has their opinion.
What is Bigfoot? Often described as a large, hairy, man-like creature, there are various theories about what this being actually is. And many eyewitness accounts include more unexplained phenomena than just a hairy beast.
In my opinion, it's just a theory. I'm beginning to believe that the UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them, Bigfoot, orbs, even the dog, I believe they're all connected in some way.
Divergent theories and experiences with the creature have caused divisions and disagreements among Bigfooters. Broadly speaking, there are two schools of thought in the Bigfoot world: the flesh and blood people and the paranormal people. The flesh and blood folks generally think Bigfoot is some sort of living, breathing creature. Well, what is your opinion of what Bigfoot is?
Yeah, I mean, it's an opinion, and solely an opinion. I don't know. I always say that it is like a separate twig or a parallel twig on the human branch of the primate family tree.
We're not too far from them. I think on the DNA level.
He's just an animal, I'm going to say.
I believe it's flesh and blood.
The paranormal camp holds a variety of theories about what Bigfoot might be.
I know we all have different beliefs. I know a lot of them think it's like, some kind of primate thing. I'm leaning towards UFO. I don't know, the portal thing, just things that we come across. I'm honestly gonna have to say I'm leaning towards that.
I believe in spirits that roam around here. I believe in flesh roaming around here. So that's just the way it is with me.
For the first 5 or 6 years, I would say I was completely a flesh and blood guy. I thought it was flesh. But now I definitely think there's something more going on here. I don't know. But there's something more going on, has to be. I'm switching camps. I'm about almost all the way in the paranormal camp now. And I think it's interdimensional. I really do.
I know talk of interdimensional beings sounds pretty out there, at the very least outside our normal perceived reality. But let's explore the idea for a minute. Theoretical physicists propose at least 10 dimensions, and possibly more. These higher dimensions are beyond human capabilities of observation. Well, what if objects or creatures from a fifth dimension were observable for just a brief period in our three-dimensional reality? Imagine we lived in a two-dimensional world, like a chessboard, which has only length and width. Now imagine someone in three-dimensional space holds one of the pieces at a height above the board and shines a light on it, casting a shadow into the two-dimensional world. If we can only observe 2 dimensions, a strange shape mysteriously appears out of nowhere, then vanishes. But when we see all 3 dimensions, it's obvious what's causing the phenomenon. Is it possible that similar dimensional projections are happening from higher dimensions into our 3-dimensional world? Obviously, I don't know the answer to that, but it's certainly a fun idea to entertain, and would help explain a lot of the strange disappearances that many have described with their Bigfoot encounters. As darkness fell that first night of the campout, everyone headed out into the woods to choose a spot to search and get acquainted with the area.
I can go scout this out. Like I said, I'm going to come up here. You can clearly tell there's a trail coming through here, and then you can see the trail.
We split up into several groups. Some folks went toward the river, some headed south, and others explored to the north and northeast. The group I followed traveled due east along one of the trails, hoping to meet up with Mike and Christian, who were planning to explore the area to the northeast.
The trail got decimated by a tree.
Oh, wow.
See that, Erik, right there? See that big tree?
Oh, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, so we know obviously a squatch pushed it over. I mean, come on. There's nothing else that would do that. Just kidding.
We explored the area looking for signs of anything unusual, but only found evidence of known animals. At one point, Aleks received a text from Mike and Christian.
We just had a crazy situation happen over here. We heard some walking through the bushes right beside us, making a human mumbling sound. We are sitting here like, what the fuck? We thought it was you guys. We're stationary and not moving. Fuck. Man, why couldn't we gone that way?
We were all intrigued by the mumbling sound they described, and decided to backtrack so we could meet up with them quicker. When we got to their location, they recounted their experiences.
Right when this trail intersects back towards this field, him and I came across, all of a sudden we hear what sounded like somebody walking in the woods right beside us. Really thick scrub.
Yeah.
Bunch of quail took off, and when it sounded like a dude walking in the bushes, and we heard as it was walking away, and we laughed every time, dude. You can't do it and not laugh. It's pretty funny.
But I thought it was you guys.
We thought it was
I was
you
like,
guys.
oh,
We're like,
that's
here
just
they come.
them.
Here they come.
Yeah.
They're coming up. Maybe we're like linking up. So we sat there for about 15 minutes, and we could hear this thing going truck, 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 and then what did it sound like?
It just made that noise, the mumbling noise, and I thought it was you guys from a distance because I couldn't make it out what it was saying.
It just sounded like mumbling, like somebody off in the distance, like having a conversation.
But it wasn't off. It wasn't that far. It was probably
it was
like
literally
like
100 feet from us.
Yeah,
and it was
if that.
loud.
Oh, wow.
We just walked into a wall of stink. If you guys get over here, you got to come check this out.
Yeah.
You got to smell this for yourself.
The mumbling they described was fascinating. Combined with the horrible smell they were taking us to experience, my curiosity was soaring. Many Bigfoot witnesses describe a putrid smell with their encounter, especially in Florida, where Bigfoot is often referred to as the skunk ape.
It's gonna get so bad. Now, the funny thing is, it comes and it goes. Yeah. We went back to the trap, the food station, and we didn't smell anything. Is it there right here? Yeah, come over here, right beside this. Smell it. Here it is, right here. It moves. Like, when we first came through here, and I was rolling, man, and we just walked right into it. We were like, whoa, what is that? Smell it? Yes.
Jeez.
Do you smell it?
Yeah. Comes and goes though.
It comes and goes.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
actually not as bad right here
No.
as it was 5 feet back there.
But it was, the cloud was like right here.
Yeah, you guys
and
walked
then,
right past
and
it.
then
yeah.
we left, the smell dissipated. We came back to right here, and then it was nothing.
The odor was strange and pungent. It had a bit of a familiar smell that I want to describe as rotting hay. The easy answer to the smell's origins are that it came from the game feeder. But as Mike described, it would come in waves. 1 minute there was nothing, then suddenly we were pummeled by the foul stench.
Here it comes, here it comes.
Oh, God. God, that stinks.
What is that?
That's fucking weird.
Dude, is that
Really
not
is.
fun? I am so glad I did not, they're gonna think we're crazy.
Over here. These nasty feet smell.
Now, you guys would just walk through here, and that was not here
No.
when you just walked through here. It's coming like in,
Oh, shit.
yeah, here it is, here it is.
Yeah, it just got real bad again.
But you didn't smell it when you came through here the first time.
Not this bad.
Not this bad.
No,
It
it comes
moves.
in waves, man.
That's weird.
It moves. I don't know what else. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm just glad you guys could verify that.
Yeah, that's weird.
We've had a wild night, man. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, this has been the wildest night I've ever had in the woods, as far as like activity goes. I'm not
It
talking about,
shows there's a ton of fucking creatures.
and I'm not talking about big.
No,
I'm
I
just talking
understand
about
what you're
just unknown.
The putrid smell, combined with the strange mumbling Mike and Christian heard, certainly lent some credence to Matt's theory about this wildlife corridor. The following morning, Mike Hughes shared what he and Christian experienced the night before.
But last night was, honestly, that was the most incredible night I've ever had out in the woods.
Most in the group found it interesting, but thought it was only evidence that there was a lot of known wildlife in the corridor.
It's not at all that I didn't believe you guys. It's just that one of the things I do is try and figure out what else.
I'm not even sure I believe me.
Well, you
I don't know what it
You
is.
second guess.
The strange smells several of us experienced and the mumbling were quietly dismissed as a misidentification of something ordinary.
We tend to think we know everything in the Bigfoot world, so when I heard their story, I thought that's really cool, but, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, kids, and I don't think it's a Bigfoot. I think you heard ibises, because they mentioned, you know, wings flapping and then a mumbling and all this, just this compilation of things that happened.
Ibises do make a low guttural sound, but I would not describe the recordings I've listened to as mumbling. Many Bigfooters bring a healthy amount of skepticism into their search for the creature. They hope to gather solid evidence that will hold up to scrutiny and ultimately prove what is causing these strange experiences in the woods.
I come from a background of law enforcement and archaeology, so I look at things more on the scientific aspect and how we can data collect.
I have friends that have had experiences, and I think that's my push is to help collect enough data to help them figure out what their experience was. You know, was it a bear or was it something else? Did they see an upright walking humanoid figure? I have not had an experience, but I've met a lot of folks in very credible positions, and you see that reaction. They've had a traumatic experience. Why do they have that traumatic experience?
The exchange of ideas on Bigfoot encounters continued throughout the day, with a few debates on various topics, and people sharing their personal experiences and opinions on Bigfoot behavior, including when they had objects thrown at them.
I've had acorns, stones, rocks. One of the coolest things was corn on the cob, all eaten and peeled and still had the rind on it. Coming through the woods, through the trees, you can hear it. It lands right in front of me. And probably the best thing was up in Ohio, I was out fishing at night, and I hear this something coming from across the river, which was probably 80 yards across. I hear something coming, and then it hits the bank right next to me. And I was like, well, I couldn't see it because it hit the water, so I couldn't see it. And then it happened again. I hear this thing coming, and this time it landed just above the water line, and I look at it, and it's a clam shell. So something hurled clams 80 yards away from the other side of the river. Pinpoint accurate. So I had some weird things thrown at me.
It was interesting to hear that some people had multiple strange experiences.
We have all kinds of stuff happening up there all the time. Screams from the woods. They'll come up and pound on the side of the cabin. I mean, they'll come up and leave stuff at the cabin, gifts, if you will.
What kind of things would it leave?
Strange things, rocks that would be placed on the porch. Some of them in a pattern.
What kind of patterns were the rocks left in?
Sometimes it's a triangle, sometimes a circle, and sometimes there'll just be a couple rocks on the porch that wasn't there the night before.
The gifting that Joey described is thought by some to be an exchange with Bigfoot. Many Bigfooters leave food or objects in the woods, hoping to establish a form of communication with the alleged creature.
I've done some gifting with crystals in an area that we go into, cut crystals, and have had some interesting either stacks or a crystal missing and then come back to the area and a crystal shows back up. And it was kind of in an area that only I would know and our group would know that these crystals were out there. And I've had everything from rocks thrown at me, vocalizations. I did have a sighting. Now, I'm not going to say it's a Class A sighting because of the distance. It was over 300 yards, which would put it at a Class B sighting. As I was hiking at a distance, I saw something with like a cinnamon red hair. And I started hiking behind it, and the next thing I noticed was it spotted me. It kind of looked back. You could see the head turn. I could only catch the torso, shoulders, the hair, and it was sparkling because it was canopied. So some of the arms from the distance, like from the elbow down, it kind of blended in with the background, and from the knees down. And as I was coming, it kind of darted off into the woods and came behind a tree, an oak tree that was kind of split at a Y, and it started to do the peak behind the tree, peak as I was coming up. And then I think when I got about 150 yards out of it, it shot out. So I was able to at least get to the tree, and it was probably about 7.5 foot tall from where its head was above the Y and how it was peeking out. So do I question myself all the time on that? Yeah, because of the distance that was there. You know, you're always like, am I sure I saw this?
Like Stan, many people second-guess their Bigfoot experiences. It's this uncertainty that ultimately drives them back to the woods, hoping for a better look at the creature. As the day turned to dusk, everyone prepared to head out into the woods for a night sit.
The whole idea is to have one night between 7 and say midnight, 2, however long everybody wants to go, that we did a continuous night set. So it's almost like, I see it as a human camera trap.
Matt's plan is to have as much of the corridor covered as possible. So if Bigfoot is in the area, someone will hopefully see it. 12 teams of 2 would sit for several hours around this wildlife corridor, watching and listening.
This is my ideal scenario, right? I have a tree line behind me and I'm on the edge, so I can look out on the field, but I can also check out the tree line behind me. That would be ideal scenario.
They spread out in all directions. One group in a tree stand, others on the ground in the surrounding fields and woods. Meanwhile, back at the campsite, I was hearing some eye-opening tales about alleged Bigfoot behaviors from James.
How long have you been observing Bigfoot?
Oh, ever since I was, well, like I said, when I shot that one when I was 17 years old. I'm 68 now. And I've been out here in the woods. Every place I've ever lived, I've been in the woods. Wisconsin, South Carolina, West Virginia.
And have you seen Bigfoots at all those places?
Oh, yeah. Especially down there in West Virginia. I used to help some of the ranchers down there to keep them off their property.
How'd
you know
do
how?
that?
Mothballs.
Mothballs?
Mothballs. They can't stand the smell of mothballs.
As the conversation went on, James shared a dizzying variety of claims about Bigfoot.
Did you know that the United States Army has taken Bigfoot hairs and come up with a stealth cloth? All of your trees has got energy, and they will produce a portal. Sometimes I'm told things in my dreams. From what I understand, the military has got several of them, and they got them caged up. Mankind was created from the dust of the earth, and women was created from man. God created Bigfoot from the mud of the earth. So he's bound to the powers of the earth.
When I asked James how he knew all of these things, I didn't get the definitive answer I was hoping for.
Something clicks, and I understand what's happening. I don't know if I'm being told, through some kind of deal or what, but I get these ideas, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I start seeing it all over the place.
Now, is it possible that you're just, looking for patterns, so you're recognizing patterns?
I look for them, yeah, because I know what I'm looking for.
The following morning, I checked in with everyone else to find out how the night sit went. It turns out that while I was hearing various theories about Bigfoot from James, the groups in the field were having their own wild night.
Quite a night last night. Me and Max Powers had a lot of activity going on.
Max and Brian experienced a series of unexplained events, similar to Mike and Christian the night before. A group of us went with them to one of the locations where they experienced something, looking for any evidence of what might have caused it.
We were on the very last trail you could be on in this conservation area. So we were right on the edge.
And we just sat and listened. We were probably sitting there for an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half, and got really, really bored. And, you get kind of bored, you start chit-chatting instead of listening. And once we started chatting, we started talking about how boring it was, how there was nothing going on.
And we're like, why couldn't we get action like the other guys got the other night? Because that's an amazing thing to have around, all this wildlife around you, and just like, So then, on and off, we're just hearing this faint, what we thought was a bird.
These birds are the birds that I thought filled the description of the people the previous night's experience.
So we're just laughing like, yeah, there's the birds. There's the birds they were hearing.
That's what they heard. They heard these birds, and we were sure that we were smarter and, I don't know, more worldly Bigfooters than they. So we sit there, and whatever it is, flock of birds or whatever, seems to be coming kind of closer and closer. And it's a mumbling. We're not hearing any bird, we're just hearing something out there, kind of moving around, just kind of shuffling through those palmettos and mumbling. No more what we thought was the bird sound. And within a few minutes, that noise is now really close to us, and we start to hear a higher pitched version, kind of a kind of thing.
With all the strange sounds occurring around them, Max decided to try an app on his phone that identifies different bird calls.
Max had an app on his phone. It's called the Bird app. Like, let's see if we can pick up and see what it is. So he hits it, the sound goes, comes back Homo sapien. So I went from, all right, let's see what kind of bird it is. Let's see what kind of, to what? Really? And I'm like, really? And it was just, of course, you get thinking, I'm like, like the guys heard the mumbling last night, and now we're hearing the mumbling.
Understandably, Max and Brian were intrigued by the sound they heard, and the app's identification of the sound as Homo sapien.
We decided to go look for this thing and kind of walk around, and it had left and gone away, and we decided to follow it.
So after sitting for an hour, we decided to move, and I'm like, let's go around, and we'll just follow that last path around, and we'll loop back to the guys.
Brian and Max's plan was to follow the outer trail and eventually meet up with Aleks and Mike at the tree stand.
So we're walking. All of a sudden, the mumbling gets louder. Like, blah, 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 like very, it's almost like when your cassette tape is either melted or it's slowed down. It's blah, blah, blah. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like a frustrated vocal, a frustrated tone in the mumbling, to where it was like an intelligence to it.
Max and Brian continued walking, driven on by their curiosity for what they were hearing.
Now we're moving, and Aleks is up in a tree stand, however, 1,000 feet away. I'm not sure how far it was. And he's going, you guys are on the move, right? Where are you? Are you on the move? What's going on? We're seeing things move. And so he has pictures of something else in the field on the thermal, and we're moving and he can see our lights.
One thing I saw that was interesting was an unknown thermal hit to the left of me. Something just kind of moving in the tall grass. I don't know, maybe pig-sized. It was so quick and faint, couldn't really tell very much of what it was.
So he was trying to figure out what exactly is going on. So rather than really Bigfooting and being quiet and listening and trying to track these things, we're wandering, answering these texts, calling Aleks in the tree stand and Mike on the ground under him, and trying to, let them know, yeah, it's okay, we are on the move and all those things. And we come to another intersection and we decide to take the trail that kind of wraps around.
The trail they turned onto would lead them back to where Aleks and Mike were.
So as we're moving, there's about a 3-foot embankment with a tree about that size. And as we're passing it, something just runs, just bolts for about 5 seconds and then stops.
We didn't see anything. All we heard was something behind this tree take off, like through the bushes and stop. It only went far enough to get out of our line of vision, far enough, just out of our sight, just back into the darkness, into the bushes, into a place where our lights wouldn't penetrate. Chewy the dog is like going nuts, pulling at the leash. He's like, back legs on the ground, front legs trying to get in there after whatever it is. I was thinking, oh, maybe this is a hog, or maybe it's Bigfoot, in which case I'm scared of either one.
So we pull out our knives and we're like, because you don't know, it's pitch black. And we wait.
We can hear it still it's almost like, going from side to side back there. You can hear something moving, but it's not really going anywhere. And we're waiting, Chewy's going crazy, and As we're trying to decide what we should do, the mumbling starts again.
It's this location near the tree that they took us to the following day.
We were probably about this far.
Yeah, we were just talking.
So, I mean, that was to be right there.
Wow, you were really close.
Oh yeah,
And all of a sudden, there's
Yep, the first thing he did was pull his knife, and I'm trying to get my knife.
And it's right at this tree here.
It was right. It must have been behind the tree.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And it, I don't want to say it was strategically located, but if it was behind the tree, it was kind of close to the tree. And if you look, it looks like there's something's been through here. And it looks like something's been through here up to about this high. Could have been a big hog, but
We could see a clear path through the shrubs behind the tree, but no indication of what it might have been that they heard the night before. What Brian and Max experienced is certainly curious. One thing that stands out to me is that when I interviewed them separately the following morning, their stories lined up almost perfectly with every detail. What do you think it might have been?
it was something that makes noise in the bushes. And that's all. I completely inconclusive. So got a chance to talk to the people who experienced a very similar thing the night before, and they weren't ready to call it Bigfoot either. But they imitated the exact same noise.
The way their encounter parallels some of what Mike and Christian experienced the previous night only adds a layer of intrigue.
So that was quite an interesting night to get all that action at once, but it was like a repetition of what happened to the guys the night before with the mumbling. So it's interesting, and I can't wait to get back out there tonight with a blind and just sit there and just see what happens.
That night, Brian and others did go back out. By the time I caught up with them, a downpour ended our time in the field early.
It's so heavy. We're just losing it here.
Back at the dry comfort of the camp, I took the opportunity to speak with Aleks and get some of his thoughts on Bigfoot. Aleks is a documentary filmmaker who has traveled all over North America and interviewed many Bigfoot witnesses.
When people say there's nowhere for these things to hide or other creatures, absolutely don't believe that at all. I mean, I've driven to Alaska and back, and there are places up there that are frighteningly remote in terms of terrain. There's just nothing up there for thousands of miles. You know, obviously Canada, northern parts of the US, probably more so than a place like Florida where you got 22 million people crammed into area, but you know, there's some parts of the lower 48 that are pretty remote too. So the habitat's there if you're talking about something flesh and blood. If you're talking about something else, then, you know, why aren't we people seeing it in little parks in Brooklyn? When you start looking at the patterns of the sightings, they correlate really interestingly to known animal corridors, known habitat of other species, and they typically only happen in very heavily wooded areas, mountains, swamps like down here in the south, like what we're in right now. So if you're thinking of it's some kind of, it's all in our heads, we'd expect the sightings to be randomly distributed all over. And in some cases they are, but it's really weird when you have a particular area that has, over the years, a history of sightings in the same areas by people who don't know about each other. That's pretty intriguing. Yeah, so you start adding up some of this stuff and it just doesn't add up, right? I mean, there's a couple of possibilities. You know, you have something real behind it, or we have this really weird need for some kind of psychological out in terms of a mystery creature that's like us but not like us. I don't see much leeway between. It has to be one of the two, right? There's some kind of phenomena going on, like people are claiming to see stuff that you can't really conventionally explain, at least some of them. I'm in a place where It seems like there is some kind of reality behind it. What that reality is, that's the debate, right? And that's, you know, where you got the flesh and blood, you've got the paranormal, and that you know, we're not even at that point yet. We don't know what's going on, but there's something going on.
There is something going on, and it keeps the legend of Bigfoot alive. Is it an animal? Is it a paranormal phenomenon? Or, as Aleks suggested, is it a psychological phenomenon? Whatever it is, people are experiencing it. Many of the people I spoke with had experiences I'm inclined to believe. They don't necessarily claim it was Bigfoot they encountered. They just have no other explanation for what it could be. Some of the other stories I heard, well, let's just say I'm extremely skeptical. I don't necessarily doubt the sincerity of the speaker. They might believe what they're saying. But for me, I need more substantial evidence for some of the claims I heard. I'll leave it to you to decide which stories you might want to believe.